All right, I'll be testing out the microphone on the earbuds of my Apple iPhone here. So I want to do a motovlog. I'll know what it sounds like. So I'm gonna splice this into a motorcycle ride. But story time. And this story happened about 30 years ago when I was first coming out of boot camp in A school. A school is like job specialty school. And then I went to a school called FRAMP, FRAMP. I forget what FRAMP's called. If I remember, I'll put it on the screen, or what FRAMP stands for. But it's basically the school that teaches you about your job specialty on a specific aircraft. And my aircraft was an H-3 Sea King. But that's a story for another time. So I get out of FRAMP and I'm ready to check into my squadron. And I go to the squadron office, duty office, basically the nerve center, or the connection center for the squadron. It's kind of like your receptionist. And so I check in. It's like, okay, go see the maintenance chief. So I go see the maintenance chief, and it goes, oh, you're an E3 or below, you'll go to the line shack. And the line shack is a service station, basically. And what you do in the line shack is you clean the aircraft. You are trained to do a visual inspection on all the visible, accessible components of the aircraft, and also you do service items like grease the rotor head, wash the aircraft, move the aircraft around, stage them for flights, and just, general cleaning stuff. And there's usually 10, 12 people in the line shack per shift. Everybody liked second shift because they could get off work at the at the end of their shift and go party and sleep in till 1 or 2 in the afternoon, or maybe 11, and come in. I think second shift started at like 3 o'clock. So I check in, go to the line shack, and I'm looking for the shop supervisor, the LPO, leading petty officer. But he's an air crewman, and he was out on a flight, so I had just kind of hang out in the line shack. It wasn't really a shack; it was kind of a little shop connected to the main hangar. I did meet the 2 division officers that were assigned to the line shack. I believe the first 2 was a guy named Julian, and another guy, I can't remember his first name, but his last name was Terry something. And Julian was kind of an ate-up Mr. Squared Away. I think he was still an ensign, or a JG. I don't remember. But Terry, I'll just call him Terry, was cool. He was kind of laid back. He's like, hey, how you doing? And they didn't really have much to do with us directly. They pretty much took orders from above and, would pass it down to the LPO, and the LPO would get us minions to do whatever we needed to do to prep whatever aircraft for flight. So that's the background of the situation. And I was an E3, and in the Navy back then, we wore work uniforms called dungarees, and they were bell-bottom blue jeans with back pockets also sewn on the front. So you had back pockets in the back of your pants and back pockets in the front of your pants. and they were the goofiest looking uniform I've ever seen. I don't know who came up with it, but probably designed in the 70s. And we had a chambray shirt, a denim colored light blue shirt. That was our work uniform. And E3s and below did not have any rank insignia on their work uniforms back then. So you couldn't tell if somebody was an E3 or E1 or an E2. Once you made E4, then you would get your chevron on your left sleeve. So I'm hanging out in the line shack, people going in and out. You know, hey, how's it going? You a new guy? Yep, just waiting for the LPO. And this one particular dude comes in. I'll call him Jerk. And Jerk comes in, same thing, kind of made small talk. And so I'm just waiting. There was a counter in the line shack that separated like a little desk area, and then the front of the counter was just the walkway to the door that led to the flight line. So I'm on the outside of the counter, and Jerk is on the back of on the desk side of the counter, and just kind of an awkward silence. And I think the division officers had left already. They had something to do, so it was just me and Jerk in the line shack. And so there was a lighter just sitting on a counter. Don't know whose lighter it was. Didn't come from Jerk. It wasn't my lighter. And so Jerk grabs a lighter and he's just kind of flicking it, and he puts it back down on the counter, and he kind of shoves it towards me. He goes, "Check it out." I'm shrugging like, I don't care to, but whatever. So I go to reach for the lighter. Jerk grabs the lighter and tries to light it under my hand to burn my hand. I'm like, dude, what's that all about? And he just kind of chuckles. I'm like, yeah, whatever. So I decide, well, I'm just going to go walk around the squadron and see the lay of the land, basically. So that was my first encounter with Jerk. So fast forward to about a year later. Now, in between, Jerk would do just little weird jerkish things. Like, he would always boast about picking on new guys, right? Giving them stupid things to do, like, hey, go get me a bucket of flight line, or hey, go get me the APU key. APU is auxiliary power unit. It's the small jet that starts the main jets for the aircraft. H3s didn't have APUs. He worked on H53s, which did have an APU. But, you know, a new guy, you didn't know that an H3 didn't have an APU. At least not the ones we worked on. And then other things like, hey, go fill out an ID10 Tango form to check out this tool or something like that, right? Just stupid new guy things, you know. Get me an air sample. I've seen that before. But he would always try to like give me orders to do things. Well, come to find out, he was an E2 and I was an E3, so I outranked him. But I never did do whatever he told me to do. I would say, okay, did the LPO tell you to tell me to do that? I was like, should I go check? Because I'm doing this other thing with, you know, this other person. And he would just, after the first couple of times, I would say, yeah, whatever, if he tried to tell me to do something. So, again, fast forward to a year later, and I believe I'd made E4 by then, and I was working in the airframe shop because I was an airframes mechanic. He was an engine mechanic, so he worked in the engine shop. Well, he would always boast about tricking new guys into doing stupid stuff, and one of his favorite tricks that he would boast about is peeing in the relief tube, and when the pee would drip underneath the aircraft where it comes out, he would tell the new guy, hey, go check the fuel leak underneath the aircraft. And of course, you know, that's a prank. But being that he worked on 53s and not H3s, he wasn't too familiar with where the relief tube comes out underneath the H3. So being a jerk, people just kind of had enough of his jerkness. And so one day, I was assigned as a troubleshooter on the flight line, and I saw like 5 or 6 guys get into an H3, and they had to turn the aircraft to do some maintenance. So they turn the aircraft up, you know, it's loud, the engines are what that means is they turn the engine on, and it's a non-pilot. Basically, it's a maintenance person who's been trained to turn the jet engines on. And so you can use all the hydraulic systems without hooking up a special pump and all that stuff. So guy gets in, turns the aircraft up, it's loud, and the 6 guys are still in the aircraft. Well, another guy, I see him running into the hangar, and then he comes back out with Jerk. So later I found out what happened was he ran in there to get Jerk to come out to troubleshoot a fuel leak, quote unquote fuel leak. So that's what the 6 guys in the aircraft were doing. So as Jerk and the other guy come out and they see the aircraft, you know, the other guy's pointing towards the aircraft underneath the airplane, and the first guy starts peeing into the release tube to get the pee to come out the underside of the aircraft. So the other guy said, that Jerk said, well, I don't know, how to troubleshoot a fuel leak on an H3, and the other guy told him, well, you're the only mech, we call the engine mechanics mechs, the only mech available, so maybe you know more than I do. So Jerk crawls underneath the aircraft and like sticks his hand in the puddle of pee that's coming out. And by this time, I mean, they're just peeing one after the other into the relief tube to get the leak to keep running. So Jerk sticks his hand in the pee, sniffs his hand. Now the flight line is continuously have either drips of fuel, or when they're taking fuel samples, the fuel runs over the sample bottle. So the flight line underneath the aircraft usually smells like fuel anyway. So I mean, you can drop cologne on the flight line underneath the aircraft, and it'll smell like fuel if you stick your hand in it. So anyway, he's down there, he's crawling around hands and knees, sticking his hand in it, sticking his hand in the stream, trying to sniff it. Of course, his gloves were saturated with fuel or oil or whatever, so it smells like a petroleum. And man, I didn't know what was going on until after they told me. I was laughing so hard. So he got he got a taste of his own medicine. I don't know if they ever let him in on it, but oh my gosh, all the guys that were in on it were just ecstatic that they pulled it off on him. So anyway, that's what happens when you're a jerk and you get a taste of your own medicine. All right, enjoy your day. Take care. Bye.